Hello, so today I'll be presenting over the film that me and my group chose to do for our psychology film project, and we chose Roma. All right, so the psychological concepts that we did was intrinsic motivation, attachment, drive states, episodic memory, and gender schemas. And so I'm going to talk about some of those. So intrinsic motivation. What is intrinsic motivation? So basically, intrinsic motivation is the reason why we perform, imitate certain actions, or don't imitate certain actions. It's a motivational force that drives us to do things for goals or for benefits or reasons. An example of this is if one kid sees another kid spit out some peas, and then that kid gets punished for spitting out those peas. This kid is going to think, well, I don't want to get punished, so I'm not going to spit out my peas. So in the movie, the example of intrinsic motivation is Cleo running out into the ocean to save the children. Basically, her motivation here is that she wants to save them and she doesn't want the kids to die, and that just from a standpoint of her job, it'd be bad if the kids that she was supposed to be taking care of died. So that's her motivation, is mostly to save the children because she has a bond with them, but also probably helps with employment. So, attachment in psychology, attachment is the bond between two people. And there's four different types of attachment in psychology. There's secure, avoidant, ambivalent, and disorganized. And those are the four main types of attachment. And in the movie, the kids have a couple different types of attachments. With the father, they're secure, they're excited to see the father, and they're sad and devastated to learn that the father has abandoned them later. With her mother, sometimes it's more ambivalent because sometimes, especially after the father leaves, she can't control her anger, and sometimes she lashes out on her children, and one time she hits one of her kids, or she'll just scream at them and yell at them quite often. And then sometimes she's super nice to them, like taking them out on the beach trip. So she can be harsh and sweet at the same time. So sometimes they're not sure what to make of it. With Cleo, the maid, they have a secure attachment because they all love the maid. Cleo, she always brings them snacks or drinks, or she's always kind to them, And one part of the movie, she's waking them up in the morning, and she wakes them up very sweet. She has her own little routine for waking each one of the kids up, and she's very nice to them. So, drive states. So, drive states are another thing that it's a sensation that motivates us to do something, to fulfill goals that are beneficial to us. So, an example in the movie is Antonio, Sophia's husband, Antonio. His drive state is sex, and so probably among other things, but he's unhappy with his wife and he's unhappy with the house that he lives in. And so, because of that, he's frustrated. And when he gets the chance, he leaves his family and runs off with his mistress. And so, the fourth one is episodic memory. Episodic memory is basically when someone can recall memories from the past, like from the far from their past, that are like important to them. And so in the movie, there's kind of an interesting one. The youngest boy, his name is Pepe, or not Pepe, but Pipi. He talks about memories that he had from a past life to Cleo the maid. He talks about how he was a sailor and he died in a storm, and how he's also a fighter pilot, and that in the storm, he died because he didn't know how to swim. And there's 2 points in the movies where he talks about this having a past life. One time is at the beach, and I think one time is at the dining table. And so I would say that's an example of an episodic memory. So the fifth one is gender schemas. So gender schemas is basically the way that people are organized in society. like that perceptions are based on, and those perceptions are based on people's behaviors and their genders. Basically, it's like because you're this gender, you're expected to perform these certain actions or have these roles or be interested in these things. But it's because of your gender. In the movie, there's a lot of stuff about gender. Basically, it's about, ultimately it's about Sophia, who's a woman and the wife of a man that has abandoned her, Cleo, who got pregnant, and the man that she got pregnant with abandoned her. And you just see that in the movie. Basically, the women, all they have is each other, and the men, they just kind of take what they want and then they leave. And even though they do this, like one time, when Antonio comes home, when the husband comes home, and there's dog poop in the driveway, he blames the wife for the dog poop, even though it wasn't the wife that, said to not have the dog poop cleaned up. It was, Cleo the maid, and Cleo that maid that morning had been cleaning dog poop, and that dog poop was there in the evening. So yeah, that's our presentation on Roma and 5 psychological conditions that we found in the movie. So yeah.